Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to another vision, another episode of Real Coaching T, Coach's Corner. I'm here. I'm Coach T. I'm here with Coach Steve, per usual. Lots to catch up on. Lots of stuff going on. Everybody's kind of had this chest cold. A lot of us have been just super busy. I'm running like 1,000,000 hours a day trying to just keep up with the varsity schedule and then work schedule. And then I know you've had a lot of business conflicts as well that you've had to kind of be back and forth between.
We're at Christmas now.
It's Christmas now.
So work's going to slow down and get to focus on the kids.
Focus on the kids.
A lot more.
2 tournaments since our last episode.
Yep.
Seeing a little drop off on some of our competitors. Just on the number, but started to see a little bit of first and second year, like that youthful burnout starting to show its face just a little bit.
That's exactly what I meant by babies. Like the 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds are starting to feel it a little.
Yeah, I mean all the way up into like our third and fourth graders too. At some level are starting to feel that a little bit. Taking a little bit of a break. We're only doing 4 practices through the holiday break. We've got a tournament on the 30th.
The 30th, be heading up to
Wasatch, and then
a couple of days later, Roy.
And then Roy, King Kong,
second year for that one. That was really fun.
It's fun. Yeah, we went last year, and a lot of the kids really enjoyed themselves. They do a good job over there.
Yeah.
So we've covered a whole gambit of things, but I felt like circling back and talking programming and knowing how to make those adjustments and when to let the kids at some level where they're at dictate that programming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is, for example, noticing that we're seeing some of that burnout. And we said, we originally, excuse me, we had originally said, we want to practice through the holiday. I'll have extra time. I want to be around the kids a little more, because the varsity will be off with moratoriums and different things. But last couple of the tournaments, you could just see emotionally the kids are not handling that environment with the excitement that they had originally. And some of that's the sparkle has kind of worn off a little bit. We're into the kind of that laborious part of the season. But the other part of that is just the environment, the overstimulation, too much of that happening all at one time, week over week over week. They have to learn how to be athletes.
100%. So even like the little videos we posted, a little guy that I'm talking to, he's not the only one getting that talk. So that's why we kind of brought this up, is a lot of those kids are feeling that. Even my daughter, Scarlett, your son, Bob, but we pushed them a little bit harder. Yeah, they're getting double bracketed, wrestling up a grade
or two.
Yeah. Trying to push them up. So they're feeling it a little bit, but she's feeling it emotionally. I love wrestling because Scarlett, my daughter, 2nd grade, she makes decisions she quits every week.
Yeah.
But it's at the tournaments. Yeah. So, but we do that in real life too, is make decisions during emotion. Whether you're happy, sad, mad, it's not a good thing, but it's good for them to learn it.
Yeah.
At this time.
Yeah. And, I had a conversation with 2 of our premier wrestlers, older wrestlers, 4th grade and 6th grade respectively, Bob and Michael.
Yep.
We'd done a duel, and I kind of dueled them up in age a little bit. Same amount of, or less experienced wrestlers, but they were still older.
Yes.
And I think that does play a factor at some level in those matches. Now, and then I wrestle them a lot, and we ask a lot of them. And I had a conversation at the kitchen table that night after that duel. They had a few of the families had come over, and we'd had dinner together, and we hung out and stuff, and talking with some of the kids. And I said, I challenge you guys all the time, because when you get into 9th grade, you're going to be wrestling 10th, 11th, 12th graders. 100%. So that age doesn't matter. We have to be able to wrestle guys our weight or girls our weight, and we have to be able to compete, right? regardless of how many more years of experience or how much older they are or whatever else. I said, so all I'm doing is setting you guys up. And they're like, bet, keep doing it, coach. Like they appreciated that I put them in that situation. But some of our younger wrestlers that are maybe first and second year kids, they may not truly understand like why am I getting beat up every week? Why is coach making me be in the advanced bracket instead of the beginner's bracket? I'm only a second year guy. And I know we have a couple that I'm like, hey, they're too good for the beginner's bracket, not quite good enough to take podium on the advanced bracket. Second year kids, and talk to their parents a little bit. And it goes back to that. We don't really want our kids going more than 500 on the season, in my opinion. And the only way to challenge them to get better is to find the ways to do that, whether it's double bracketing, whether it's moving them from beginner to intermediate bracket, and those kinds of things. So we do challenge our kids more than maybe a lot of clubs do, which is probably why we see the growth is so fast with our club right now.
Yep.
Like we're seeing first year kids that are just taking huge strides week over week. We're seeing second year kids that are competing in the advanced bracket and just dominating pretty consistently. And I think that growth comes from like, hey, I know I got to pay attention at practice. The coach is going to put me in a difficult situation this week. And they embrace that. And I think our kids and our parents are really great with our club. Very lovable. I mean, they made a point to go out and get us coaches all a bunch of gifts and stuff for Christmas.
This is the most tight-knit group I've ever coached in 11 years being in youth wrestling.
Yeah,
they're for sure the most tight-knit.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yep. No complaints, never have complaints.
Mm-hmm. So knowing where we're at in the season and starting to see that burnout, what do you do about it, coach? Like once you realize, okay, collectively we've got 75% of our kids are just cooked. They need a break. We've decided to give them a break. From this point forward, so today, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, what do you do moving forward to help alleviate some of that burnout?
Yeah, so wrestling is about retaining the kids, especially with the girls. We've adjusted on how we coach it. So we see it with the kids when they're starting to get emotional, overstimulated, which is usually crying, over emotional. So first step, I always tell them, let's not put them in tournaments because we want the hunger back. I want them to be like itching to get back out there, almost begging to get back out there because then they want it and they'll fight for something. So pulling them out of tournaments, because it is a lot to ask of, like, let's just say a 5-year-old to go out there and wrestle. They think everybody's watching them. There's a lot of noise. The bleachers are pretty full. So to them, and they hear all the screaming, there's so much going on, and they're starting to get to know our voices really well.
They are. I've noticed that as well.
That's taking it from them, let them get the hunger back, because it's tons to ask of younger kids. And then asking them, the second thing is, what do you guys want to learn? You see some of this stuff in the tournament starting. My daughter ran a cradle this last week. I ain't never taught the cradle to her. Never taught her the cradle, but she watches. The other kids want to do other things. You see them. So I think asking them what they want in practice makes it fun too. So they're like, okay, I have something to look forward to. Doesn't mean I'm going to give it to you, because if we don't collectively have a good practice together, I won't teach it, or I'll keep it short, right?
Right.
So they still got to earn the stuff. And then we do games. We're doing games almost every day after practice to end on that high fun note. But those are just two things that I do. Would take it away and then just practice to what they want to a point.
Okay. What about the techniques themselves? At what point, so for example, with the varsity, we'll be coming in that first week of January. My two objectives are to drill fundamentals, but add technical nuances to those things. So for example, I've taught 2 or 3 stand-ups. I'm going to teach them some variations, maybe how to hit a Granby from a stand, how to hit a standing switch, little things like that can help them in their normal variations or their normal fundamentals hit variations of that. And then the second part is that we're going to work and really push our conditioning for the next 2 weeks. So we kind of hold off where we're so new. I hold off on really pushing the conditioning piece until the back half of the season. I mean, doesn't do any good to be in shape and then get pinned in 30 seconds. Yep. So we spend more time on technical training versus foundational training. For the club kids, for the younger kids, how do you know when to cycle back, for example?
So that's a hard question to even answer. I don't even know if I have an answer for that. When to cycle back? The kids tell you at the tournaments.
Okay.
So a lot of the time, so I know what I want to coach when we're there at the tournaments, but I'll see certain mistakes, and it's usually universal in all the kids. So if there's one mistake in one kid, it's usually you can see it in other kids. Not always, but a lot of the time. So going in those first 2 tournaments, we might have even talked about it on this podcast where I'm like, oh, we weren't fighting, maybe fighting off our backs. Yeah. But it was with all the kids. So circling back, usually it happens halfway through the tournament. I'm like, oh, hey, coach. And I'll tell like you or you, I'm like, remember this.
We need to work
on this. And then usually you guys are like, yeah, I see that. So that's usually when it happens. There's a cue, there's a red flag, there's a light that turned on at the tournaments where I'm like, hey, we need to go back to this. Or actually, we need to work on this. So usually watching the kids, listening to the kids, it's not just about winning all the time.
Sure.
It's and most coaches I think know that, but parents don't.
Okay.
So yeah, watch the kids. They'll tell you when to go back or when to move forward, when to progress, when to hit the next level.
So how often again, so you're saying listening to the kids, how often are we going to maybe have to take that U-turn, circle back and reteach those things? Is it just with what you see at tournament, or is it one of those things where you're like, okay, all of our competitors are hitting this stuff just because they're having to utilize that toolbox, but half of our club doesn't compete this year, right? They're just either too new, they're not wrestlers yet, quote unquote, right? Parents are busy on the weekends. There's an innumerable amount of reasons why they're not competing, but we have half of them that are not competing. So those tools aren't being asked to be used as frequently. What's the benefit, or is there a benefit, or how do you know how to continue to grow the non-competing kids along with our tournament kids? Because you may not necessarily see that there's a problem with the competing kids, but we may need to recycle those foundational tools for the non-competing kids.
Yeah, there's one athlete that comes into mind that doesn't really compete. She did in one duel, and then she was supposed to in a second duel and then didn't. Mm-hmm. We know who we're talking about, so I'm not going to bring her name up. But she's got a lot of development. She's probably, in my eyes, probably not going to compete this year.
Probably.
And I'm not pushing her.
No.
I've always been really big into pushing kids into doing stuff they don't want to do. And as the years have progressed and I've developed as a coach, I don't do it as much. I think I kind of see it when I was like, she's not going to wrestle. Scarlett's going to take her place. I'm not pushing her. She's just that one. So we're developing a non-competing athlete into overcoming a fear. My goal is to have her compete at a tournament this year.
Okay.
So that'd be her development, is the overstimulation and so much. She's such a sweet girl, but there's so much. It's hard for her to go out there.
And she has competed.
She has.
Already.
Oh no, she did do one.
She
tournament.
has competed.
She
already.
did do one tournament.
She had a rough draw.
Rough, but like she scored going into like her third match. She was able to learn how to hand fight. She ended up wrestling one of the top girls in the entire state,
weight and age.
In her last bout, she even scored on her. Like there was a lot to take away from it, but getting her to understand that even though the score shows you like your butt kicked, so to say, quote unquote, you got to find the positives out of it, and having her. Yeah, I hope she competes again this year.
No, she's phenomenal kid.
Absolutely.
And you know, I've got a sibling that wrestles for me at the varsity level too. So, um, you know, just a great family in
Yes,
general. So,
absolutely.
um, likewise, I think, you know, I as the club director have to take a step back. You work those kids all the time. You're with them. You know them better than I do at some level. You've been able to see more frequently what they're capable of. Um, you know, and that's why I let you override me at that little duel that we had, club duel that we had. When you're like, I'm not, and I'm like, I did. I was like, Coach,
You're like, push her to go do
come
it.
on,
Like
we
she
got to make
got
her.
there.
Let's get her out there, you know. But
Yeah.
you knew her better than I did. And at that point, I have to trust that I've brought good coaches into the program, that I've got good coaches that care about the kids and have their best interests at heart. And so, kind of why I ask a lot of the club questions for you, because I have the junior high kids and I push the
It's
crap out of those
different.
kids.
Yes. Yep.
I beat those kids up. Um, you know, but they're asking me for that. They're wanting to be good. Got two of them that are going to be freshmen next year that really are asking to get prepared for that. And the only way we do that is ask them to do hard things, ask them
Yeah.
to do things that they're intimidated by, ask them to do things that are going to be in a losing effort at some level.
Yeah. And on that same track, I've been pushing the kids a little bit harder, my younger group, because I was getting them to like me and like love me. And then once you like me and I've coached you through some stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, Coach God's me. All right, now I'm gonna push you. Let's see where your edge is. Not every day, but here are moments that are like a random time at practice. Boom, wrestler squats. Boom, wall sits. Boom, this. Let me hear. Let's see how far we can push.
Well, we've had a lot of compliments from parents that had their kids part of other clubs, that are now with us, and the one thing that they talk about is the structure, the discipline, how you're able to keep the same structure and randomize that to keep the kids kind of on their toes, having to pay attention, and then you know our ability to really push the kids to kind of step out of that little ball of safety that their parents have helped create for them, which is reasonable. I mean, we try to protect our kids under any condition possible.
Yep.
And so sports a good way for them to kind of step away from their moms and their dads and step into coach's boss. And when the moms are sitting back going like, get them, coach, get them. And then when they're done with that, mom's like loving on them. And it's like, okay, baby, let's go. And it's like this whole thing. And you're like, bro gets coddled at home. It comes out here and is an absolute savage. And, you know, lots of compliments about the way you run your practice and stuff. Which is kind of a testament to kind of having an idea of where we want to take it and what that scaling is. Now we got 40 kids. In conversations with you, we want to push to 60 to 80.
Yeah.
We're trying to really build a program that can funnel to the high school properly. Good kids with good fundamentals, good values, and you know, kids that want to be a part of this program long term. And so that's kind of what we're working towards. And I think back to the original question is how do we know that everybody's coming along? Well, when you got a kid that doesn't compete and he starts roughing up a kid that's competing every week, that's usually an indicator that you're okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you get all of the competing kids are just absolutely, you have to pair them up because the other kids can't keep up, that might be an indicator we got to circle back and kind of push those other kids up. And one thing I've noticed is that you're watching the overall success rate both at practice and in tournament, and you're taking a large sample size of the kids and saying, okay, we're not good at this.
Yep.
We should be, but we're not, and so we're going to circle back and hit that fundamental.
The fundamentals are pretty bright though, because other parents would be like, "Dang, I like your," because going back to the parents noticing our program and how we're wrestling,
sure,
and what we're saying when we coach our kids,
sure,
that's a big thing because you got a lot of the same terminology, the same words that doesn't get anywhere. Kind of like football, when a kid drops the ball and the coach says, "Catch the ball."
Yeah, no doubt.
Obviously.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, we know that. Did he not look the ball in? Did
look
he
the ball in? Did he hit smaller circle?
Was it
fingers
hard hands?
forward?
Like so many little things. Like what happened?
Stick, keep your feet. Yeah, whatever it is. Right.
So with wrestling, any sport, any any teacher coaching, like that's what did they do wrong inside that drop ball or
Well, and I think sometimes coaches get wrapped around the axle on the mechanics too. They're so eager to teach the mechanics when the mechanics aren't the issue. For example, on bottom, keeping your head up, that's not a mechanical thing, right? That's a mindset thing. I'm draping my head, I'm hanging it, I'm not, whatever, on bottom, I'm not moving. Those kinds of, that's an effort issue. So now that becomes an emotional teach, not a mechanical teach. And I think that that's where with each of our wrestlers we have different things, right?
Mhm.
For example, with Bob, I very rarely have to deal with the emotional teach type stuff. I put him back together if he loses a match that he knows he should have won, or
Yeah.
he feels he should have won.
Mhm.
Put him back together a little bit about, hey man, you got to take those in stride. What did you get? What did you learn? Put it in your toolbox. We got more wrestling, right? I got another kid that he's just an absolute dog, but I've got to remind him that he can't be out there ego wrestling.
Yep.
Right? There are other kids as strong as you. There are other kids that are better wrestlers than you and whatever. So you've got to go out there with the mindset that, like, I can be beat any given day.
Because you're a brute, that works for a while.
Yeah.
It works for a little bit.
And so just knowing, like, are we teaching is it a fundamental thing, or is it a like a foundational emotional teaching type deal? And I think that, with each kid, you have to build a relationship. And a lot of coaches fail in the, they run the program, they do a good job, they teach us stuff really well.
And then
and then they forget to work on the person.
Yes. And that happens at tournaments too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because of the high emotion,
mm-hmm.
the sadness and the happiness. But it's just when they cry, when they break down, how do you respond to what do you say to the kid? Because in that moment is actually when they like respect you and will
mm-hmm.
love you.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes I leave a tournament and I go like, dang man, I was hard on these kids today. Like all of them, I had to just like put them back together in a really rough kind of way.
Yeah.
And I come home and I'm talking to Mel and I'm telling her that I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I'm not real proud of myself for how I dealt with these kids.
Could you imagine if they did the tournaments the other way? Started with the olders.
Mm-hmm.
But then ended with the youngers.
Yeah. And then so then, a couple days later at practice, you get that same kid that is the one you're really cycling because you're like, dang, man, I probably was a little too far. I probably was a little harder on him than I needed to be. I probably said a couple of things that, while true, maybe were a little harsh, right? And they come back to you a few days later and they go, hey, coach, I've been thinking about what you told me at the tournament. And you're right. I need to this and I need to that. And you're like, well, geez, maybe
we're good.
Maybe I'm good. All right. Well, I'm not going to worry about it anymore. But, you dwell on that.
You still learn from it.
Yeah, you learn from it as a coach. And I think picking your poison with that, for example, I only allow myself 2 major blowouts a season with my varsity. So it forces me to pick my poison with that a little bit. And I've learned about myself, if I don't limit myself, I have a tendency to be real aggressive and passionate about what we're teaching. And I get upset when things don't go the way I've taught it. Right?
Yeah.
So I have to remind myself that part of this thing is teaching them how to grow, teaching them how to be coached, teaching them how to apply the tools, when to apply the tools. Like there's a lot that goes into wrestling that you can't hide from.
No.
Right? You get in football, you can hide. 3 out of 5 plays, if you're not great, you can still hide and be okay. And maybe the coach doesn't notice that you are fundamentally broken.
Yeah, wrestling, everything's exposed.
Everything's exposed, to include your body, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not hiding from anything.
Nope.
And so I think we have a tendency to really push growth much faster through wrestling than a lot of the other sports because of that. And it creates more adversity for the kids. And I think it creates more attention to detail for them. And honestly, I think it hardens them.
It does. And it shows them that hard work doesn't always mean you win.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. It's the process. The long-term process, I think, becomes more the kids that are committed to that long-term progress, it becomes more evident with them than the ones that are just like, I'm here to have fun, bro. I'm not about that life. That whole you yelling at me stuff, I ain't about that. And that kid typically at some point he either quits, or
Yeah.
at some point matures into that, like, oh, coach was trying to get me, whatever, you know. And sometimes we have those kids that come in and, coach, I finally decided I want to be a wrestler. Bro, you've been with me for 3 years. What are we, just now you want to be a wrestler? What were you doing the other 3 years? You know what I mean? And then, okay, and it opens up that opportunity to say, okay, but if we're gonna do this, you got to do it. You got to trust me. You got to have faith in my coaching. You got to do what I ask you to do, and you got to put the tools to work when I ask you to do that. And that again goes into that working each kid at the level they are emotionally and physically.
Yep. So, and how we coach each kid is because I do add, you get to learn the kids and like who you can really like yell out hard.
Sure.
And ones how you gotta change your tone. Yeah. A little bit. Where they can compete at their best. Scarlett was one of them. She's starting to do good with me. I had to hand her off to you a tons of times.
For a while.
Yeah, because you coach her at a better tone than I do.
Yeah.
It's just the dad thing too. But now she's getting to where she's like.
Well, you even asked her, who's coaching you this week? You are.
Yep.
And she wanted her dad to coach her that, and she had a great tournament.
She's doing good. The aggressive is coming out. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, learning, you know, you and I have talked about like, you were her only coach for a long time.
Yeah, her first year was just me and her. She didn't have a partner her size or nothing.
Yeah, and so she's had other coaches kind of dabble here and there, but you have been her primary coach for 3 years now.
Yep, 3 years.
Coming to Jayhawk Club, you got to kind of pass off that responsibility a little bit and be like, hey, here's the club dynamic. You're part of this team. Here's what's expected. And we've had conversations. I've had to have conversations with her about the expectation, whether your dad is the coach or not, it doesn't change for you. You have to meet the same standards as the other kids. And I think it took us a little while to kind of work her through that entitlement piece. And she kind of grew through that really well to where now she's competing, she's earning that success.
Her last month has been a little bit different. She's been a little different. She's been meaner, more locked in.
Yep.
Running moves I've never taught, learning stuff on her own. And how she pays attention at practice.
Big difference.
I watched it on the camera, on the video I posted today. I was like, oh, look at Scarlett there.
Locked in.
Oh, locked in, listen, head sideways, just like
soaking it in.
I was like, I didn't see that when I recorded. I was like, okay.
But which is a big difference from a month ago.
Yeah.
When she was fiddling around, smiling, staring at everything except for you, those kinds of things. So she's locked into the idea that like, oh, when we're here on the Resolite, you know, we have to be dialed in.
Yeah, she's not the only one. Camden's another one.
Yeah. Well, and they're learning. A lot of these kids
are like super locked in.
They're doing dang rec basketball coach. I mean, how locked in are their coaches asking them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to send you into a fight. It's my job to prepare you. So,
a battle.
Anything else you can think of that noteworthy in terms of programming and knowing kind of how to approach certain challenges? Any challenges specifically that you think coaches should know that we've kind of dealt with?
I think we've talked about it. Just don't get into those crazy moves.
Yes, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. I promise you, keep it simple. Even your defense to certain moves. If you just keep your head up and elbows tight, build your base fast, like you're usually pretty good.
Activity, baby.
Don't get caught up in those explosive, cool. I don't know if explosive is the right word, but just advanced moves. I've almost done it, and then I haven't done it.
Yeah, we've talked, and you're like, I think they're ready for this, coach? And I said, I don't know, man.
I'm like, man, we went over the single leg, and there's like 50 things inside the single leg. I'll see something, I'm like, oh, man, I got to find a way to drill that.
And it's fun, too, right? Because you and I, we learned wrestling from different coaches. Your career has grown up from a different style of coach than my career grew up through. Most of the guys I learned wrestling from both were like All-Americans in college and then became college assistant coaches and then varsity head coaches and those kinds of things. And so we just value wrestling from a different perspective. And so you and I jump in and back and forth on things all the time.
All the time.
Some of the things you teach, and I'm like, I'd have never thought to teach it that way.
This is my first year coaching on like a whole new like program system that I wanted to do. And it was basically just reflected on what do I see? what have I seen? What have I seen? What have I seen over this decade in youth wrestling? What am I going to do? Well, I've been teaching the double leg for 10 years. We haven't even learned the double leg.
We haven't even talked about it yet.
Haven't even talked about it. Just single leg's easier. So I'm like, all right. And then just setups. How many setups do I got? Like 10. You're not allowed to shoot unless we set up. They took that so literal. They were chasing setups. And I'm like, it's already there. Like, it's already there, guys. And they did amazing. They did. And then, but that's where you circle back.
Yeah.
Okay, don't take it so literal.
Let's gotta be flow.
Yeah. If it's
so
there,
when I told them they needed to be smooth like butter the very next practice, right? They were still kind of chopping. I said, listen, man, you guys have got to be smooth like butter. You got to flow through this thing. And they're like, oh yeah, shoot, coach. Okay. And then you get back and you're like, dang, these guys look really good. And I'm like, bro, I gave them one thing.
Yeah.
I made them teach me all the stuff you've been teaching.
But that's like that's important.
Yeah.
You asking them to teach you, even though you know it. That's important. And then you throwing in like little things and then not having the ego with coaches. We're all just kind of like, everyone's like puts their input and then it's like, oh, this is a nice thing we got going on. If you came to our practice, you'd probably be like, holy crap, they work stances a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but
every
if
match starts there, right?
But if you see most of our kids go out there and they start, you're like, oh shoot. That's okay, be careful. Because usually the stance is an indicator like, oh shoot, we're about to go get someone good. And we're pretty, I was like, we have to have a good stance.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think our kids feel really good to start a match, right?
Yep.
They go out, they feel pretty confident from their feet. As the match progresses, sometimes it gets away from them. But, we have little things that they've never seen before. You get these wrestlers out of Nevada or, Northeast Idaho or Wyoming or whatever. They're teaching all these different things. Fundamentally, we're in every match, even though maybe from a technical standpoint, these kids have more tools. And it's because we don't find ourselves in as bad positions as often.
To get used in those advanced moves.
Yeah. So we're finding ourselves, especially from our feet, a lot of the feet to back techniques are the ones that you're seeing. These kids are sweeping through tournaments and they run into a Jayhawk wrestler and those feet to back moves just aren't cutting it. Our kids are fundamentally not giving them those opportunities. So they're having to go back to the basics anyways to beat our kids.
I mean, our wrestling is pretty basic the first half hour that my 2-year-old could do it.
Yeah.
He's out there doing the drills.
Yeah, I mean, he is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cute. But
well, I think for this episode, which is kind of a catch-up episode, a lot of things to cover. I think that's what about covered as much as we need to on this one.
I think so.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys being with us. Obviously, punch the like button, subscribe, share. Please share. We know sometimes we go and ramble. Me, mostly. But I feel like there's a lot of good information that we're trying to put out there to you guys. So I'm Coach T, Coach Steve. As always, go Jayhawks.